Hello, everyone. Today I'm here to talk about the issue of global warming, what it is, how it affects us, why it is important. I would also like to propose two solutions that would help circumvent, or rather, solutions that would help cushion the blow or help prevent global warming and its consequences and its effects. So, first, I'd like to get my presentation going. So I'd like to first share my objectives with you here today. First one being to define global warming. The second one being to identify its consequences. Third, why is it important? And lastly, the proposition of the proposal. Two solutions, one at our individual level, which uses the reduce, reuse, recycle mentality. And then another solution at our community level, which is the built environment. I'll get into more of that as we go along in the presentation. So first, let's define global warming. What is global warming? So, global warming is a long-term rise in the average temperature of the Earth's climate system, an aspect of climate change shown by temperature measurements and by multiple effects of the warming. This is by the NRDC, this definition right here. Next, what causes global warming? We went over this a little bit in my last speech. So greenhouse gases that get trapped in our atmosphere, water vapor being a big one, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, methane. These are all greenhouse gases either produced naturally or produced by humans that get caught in the atmosphere. Nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide are two of the biggest ones. Carbon dioxide, when that gets stuck in the air, it just traps heat. The earth just heats up the more carbon dioxide. We get more carbon dioxide, more nitrous oxide from burning greenhouse gases, deforestation, agriculture, commercial agriculture. So all of these aspects play a role into what causes global warming. Right here, I have a graph from the EPA, which just shows the average rising temperatures throughout the world. As we see from 1980, a little bit beforehand onward, the temperature has just grown exponentially. This is from a number of things. Obviously, the population has been rising. Obviously, there's been an increase in industrialization, such and so forth. So all of these factors play a huge role in why our temperatures are rising. So why does this matter? Why is this important? What are the consequences of global warming? So one of the biggest ones is the melting of polar ice caps and rising sea levels. We see just like rising global temperatures overall on land and on sea. We have lower levels of natural resources, deforestation because of such. So the biggest consequence of all of this, the problem, is that we're just losing so much of our planet so quick because of industrialization, because of the mass population. We're losing so much of our planet so fast. So why is this important? Why is melting of polar ice caps important? Why is the sea level rising 1 inch every year important? Well, think about it. In 100 years, when it's 100 inches higher, we may not have these coastal cities. Like, think about Miami. Miami may not be a place if the sea levels keep rising. So for those of you that like coastal cities, it's very important. Deforestation, you get loss of animal and plant life. There's about 1 million species, I want to say, that are endangered right now. And the amount of rainforests that have decreased is huge. It's unthinkable. So this is very important if we want to maintain life in not only humans, but for other animals as well. We want to think about how we could provide a solution towards global warming. Like I say, global warming is preventable, so I like to take the kind of public health route when thinking about global warming, and I like to think of it as a chronic disease. So Chronic diseases are defined broadly as conditions that last 1 year or more and require ongoing medical attention or limit activities of daily living, or both. Um, so this whole definition, I think, fits global warming. As we can see, conditions that last 1 year or more. Obviously, temperatures have been rising since the 80s, if not beforehand. So we check that one off. It requires ongoing attention. That's my last bullet point right there that I think is the biggest one. And it limits the activities of daily living or attention. It limits activities of daily living, which it certainly does. We're not allowed to do half the things. I mean, if you have half of a forest, that definitely limits the activities. Or if your city is underwater, that will limit some of the your daily living activities in that region. So two of the solutions I have to offer. The first one is at an individual level. I like to propose stricter recycling policies. So the reduce, reuse, recycle mentality. As we can see from 1990 onward, the percent of recycling has been growing. As we can see, though, it's starting to plateau a little bit. I don't know if the social trend has to be not to recycle as much, or if people just aren't caring as much. But I propose just a stricter policy for recycling, and I think that should really help the problem. So next, my second solution is this is the biggest one at the community level, is to change our built environment, or be more responsible with how we build. So some of you may be asking, what is our built environment? Built environment is anything that includes homes, offices, buildings, streets, anywhere where we spend our time inside. So on average, the average human spends about 90% of their time inside, 10% outside. So we have, obviously, our environment, our built environment is very important to us. So I like to use Denver as this example too, because Denver, we've been building so much. When building new projects, it's important to keep in mind ways that we can build them to help reduce the consequences of global warming. So a few of the examples I have here is to implement natural daylight, solar collectors, passive cooling, collection of rainwater, pedestrian and bike pathways, plants, including plants and water, natural air into into any new building, any new built environment that comes up in the next 100 years or so. Who knows? But I think this would have a huge effect on global warming, and it's reducing its effects within one city. So why these? Why these two solutions? Why not just say, oh, we should just stop using natural gases. We should stop using carbon dioxide, stop pumping into the atmosphere. Well, that's pretty hard to do. So it's effective, as I have on my first thing, but it's not practical. So the reason I choose these two examples, one is because they are effective, two is because they're practical, and three is because they're in a realistic time frame. You can say get rid of, stop burning fossil fuels, but that could be in 100 years from now. So these two solutions, these two proposals, I feel like are the most practical. Within the city of Denver, we're constantly proposing new ideas and changes, and I think these would be the most effective in combating this problem of global warming. Thank you for joining me today. That's all I have for you. Hopefully, we can take these proposed ideas and implement them to make our world a better and more livable place. Thanks.